Tomas Hermes upsets the full-time crew on the top 34. Melling and Toledo will be reseeded in round 2 later on in this contest. Hermes coming from behind, 11.57 combined total to skip right on to round 3. What an epic way to show up as a wild card, do some damage on the top 34. Now we introduce a brand new matchup on paper. Round 1, heat number 5. Adriano de Souza taking on Keanu Asing. Another injury replacement. Getting the call up is Kyle Abelli, making his championship tour debut here at Hossiger in 2015. Joe Trappell alongside 89 world champ Martin Potter as Felipe Toledo burns off a little bit of frustration with a gigantic punt. He'll come to the inside and look to set up a better game plan in the second round.
Yeah, back to the drawing board, Joe, that's for sure. But, never underestimate these rookies, or the wildcards, I should say. Dane Reynolds winning his heat, and now Thomas Hermes following suit. So it's definitely the underdogs having a bit of fun out here. Tricky conditions, and that last heat was a grind, that's for sure.
Yeah, you looked at the numbers from the last heat, 11.57 took the win for Hermes. When you talked about some of the heats we saw earlier this morning, Julian Wilson, pocket 9s, big heaving pits. What's happening with our conditions right now?
Tide's coming in, Joe, and that's what happens here. I would not be surprised if at some stage we get a relocation of the contest site. This is what happened while we're at the break here. World number 2, Adriano de Souza, held onto that yellow jersey for quite some time. Just a big snap right there. Just laying back into it. So it's all about maneuvers at the moment. And de Souza with an 8.67 with 2 big snaps. The judges loving that.
We were kind of curious to see when we would go to big turns for scores out here on this bank. You saw a couple of judges throw 9s at that last wave from de Souza. As we reflect back to heat number 3, we saw Owen Wright go straight up on his backhand a few times and didn't even break that 6-point mark because there's still top to bottom barrels on hand during that heat. Judges kind of made it clear at that point they wanted to see guys getting really barreled, and now it looks like they could be making that switch.
Yeah, exactly right. At some stage it will have to happen. That tide's coming in very quickly. We've got a high tide around 2 o'clock, so another couple of hours of water moving, and it's going to change, and the judges have got to adapt with the conditions, and as do the surfers. It's all about the maneuvers right now. And de Souza, an 8.67 for 2 big turns. That's where it's at.
Well, you think about the 8.67 for de Souza, and you're also starting to note that was maybe one of the best starts he's had in a long time. He's had the yellow jersey for a while, but it almost seemed like it was making him more nervous, where he'd have a rare fall. He wasn't able to control the first wave of the matchup, which he was so known for many years. Now he's wearing the red jersey, number 2 in the world, and he turns in one of the best 2-2 combos out of the gates we've seen in a while.
That was a great way to start, but with that yellow jersey comes a lot of pressure. Leading the rankings, being number 1, that's a big target to have on your back. De Souza sort of took a little while to get used to that. Surfed really well at Trestles though. He sort of got that form back. The traditional solid surfing that we're used to seeing from him, but this is definitely a step in the right direction.
So de Souza making the final at the Hurley Pro, the last stop on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. He's had a couple of really tough finals against Mick Fanning this season. He finished in a tie-break loss for de Souza at Bells Beach, and he was looking for his second bell and made his first final for a Brazilian at the Championship Tour level in Southern California. Lower Trestles having a look now. Kyle Abelli pulls in. Great takeoff. Unfortunately, the injury replacement ends up going down. He'll get an incomplete score to start. Now first priorities with the Hawaiian Keanu Asing.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen. The first surfer, obviously, to catch a wave, kind of goes to the back of the line. So de Souza with second priority now. Kyle Abelli with third priority, and Keanu Asing still sitting at the back very patiently waiting for his turn. I like this three-man priority, Joe. It sort of gives everyone an opportunity to sit on the part of the bank that you want to and not be forced to play that defensive role, which can really come into play at the beginning of the heat.
Always cool to see system change for the better in pro surfing. That three-man priority role was epic to see happen in this opening round a couple of years back. This is de Souza pulling into a couple beautiful round sections. He'll find the exit. Sets up the rail work. Forehand carve into the pocket. Nice little off the top carve into the flat part of the section. Now jam it one more time for a finishing move. This is the kind of intensity De Souza's famous for, already backing up the 8-6-7.
That he has. He's going to put the other two surfers probably in a combo situation. De Souza backing that 8-6-7 up. A couple of little nice little barrels there. Finished off with some turns. Mixing it up, and that's what you've got to do.
So we see De Souza now preparing with the jet ski to get back out into the lineup, but already flexing on a solid total out in front. Represents the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil, the same state where Caio Abelli's from. We saw De Souza come blazing as a World Junior champ back in the day. Caio also was able to take that title many years later. If you check out the Jeep leaderboard, number 2 in the world. As we check out a quick little left down the beach, Keanu Singh waited a long time to get started, and he'll end up incomplete.
Yeah, sometimes when you wait, that pressure does build, and sometimes you make the wrong decision. So Caio to the back of the line, Joe.
Caio's trying to take a big win for the injury replacements like we saw with Tomas Hermes in the last heat. Tomas is with Rosie Hodge.
So much an exciting heat win for yourself, Tomas. You were just telling me earlier, about your positioning in the lineup, and just talk to me about how crucial it was to kind of go to plan B when the waves weren't coming and factor that into your game plan.
I don't know, it's pretty hard to play the game, It's so hard to find a good one right there. I'm waiting for 20 minutes for my first 6, and the last minutes, I just need 3. I need to get a 1. And right there you look so many good waves, but it's really hard to find a good one. But I'm so happy to make a tour in the last wave.
And obviously, coming in as a replacement for Taj Burrow, you get this good experience. You surfed at Lowe's, you surfed this event now. Skipping that round number 2, how crucial is that for your game plan?
I don't know, it's really hard to in position the wild card. Sometimes you need, hey, after tomorrow you need to go to Tahiti. It's so hard because you not have a time for focus and prepare. And this event, Renato sent a message from here. After lowers, you have one spot in France. Now I have a time for focus and preparing my boards and everything. I think it's better right now. I'm so happy to make it through. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm so sad because I'm staying in Felipe in the same house. It's so hard I really love this guy. It's so hard to see do not make tour with you, And but so sad for Felipe. He's really, really fun. He's really good guys. I love these guys, and I hope he make it through in the second round. And just like to take his hello from my family, my Luana, my brother, my little wife, everyone in the home. Thanks for the vibe, and go to the next round.
Alrighty, well, we can't wait to see you in round 3. Obviously, that preparation paying off, and we'll see Felipe Toledo in round number 2. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Rosie. I know Rosie's about to give Tomas the Little Legend Award for all those amazing stories he just told us in that last interview. Potsy basically covered about 8 themes in that interview, talking about surfing against a good friend in a heat that you're staying with. Yep. He also talked about just getting to this big stage and wanting to prove yourself, getting the call-up last minute when you can't focus for major events as this replacement. See a lot of things going on in his mind, but happy to get right on into round 3 as we see Caio Abelli catch up to his surfboard out front here, Potts.
Yeah, I think it looked like he snapped his leash and then lost the handoff there with the jet ski. Now he's going to try and get back up onto the beach, replace that leash, and get back out in the water as quick as he can. Just a 1.5 at the moment for Caio. These kind of things can really ruffle your feathers, but he's just got to relax. He's got just under 19 minutes to go, so plenty of time remaining. Just kind of hit the reset button and hopefully try and get a couple of good waves.
Caio so determined to qualify for the championship tour. Back when the tour stopped in West Oz, he was posting on his Instagram photos of that crazy slabbing wave. And he said he was hoping the next time he'd go there, he'd have a jersey on in 2016. At the moment, he's number 2 on the QS as we see a paddle for a solid-looking right-hander. Adriano de Souza will have to get out of there as the entire section closes out. Remember, Adriano started with the 8.67, 2 big turns, then turned into 6.33 for a backup. It's already had Kyle and Keanu in a combination spot out of the gates.
Yeah, that's normally what Adriano does. Comes out the blocks firing, likes to control that start of the heat, likes to drop the first couple of good waves and make the other guys play catch up. So things going to a plan, according to plan. That's Kaya right there, getting caught by that big set and obviously that leash there. These guys are using competition leashes, Joe, which are a lot thinner, especially in these kind of conditions. I'm surprised, you get that 6 foot thick leash on there and save yourself a bit of time.
You're not a big fan of the comp cords?
Not at all.
Not at all. You like the thicker leg ropes, as you call them some places around the world, leashes, we call them at home. Kyle Ubeli, former world junior champ, now onto the top stage. He's showing up at a scaffolding like this and just showing up. I mean, the whole setup here is gigantic. There's locker rooms with his name on it. It's such a different experience from what he just went through last week when he made the final down in Cascais and finished runner-up to Kolohe Dino. Sometimes that transition's real easy for guys. Sometimes it's quite tough. What's Kyle going through right now, Potts?
Well, I think he's just got to... I mean, obviously things aren't going his way. Started off with a 1.5, got caught inside, snapped his leash. Apart from the fact that it's the big stage and surfing against the world's best, number 2 in the world to be exact with De Souza, he's just got to put all that aside and just rely on what he knows how to do. He's a great competitor. He's got a lot of talent. And I think he's just got to try and forget about the gravity of the situation and have a bit of fun with it.
Right now, Kyle out the back with a 1.5. Keanu just a 0.8. De Souza still with his solid total out front. One thing you always expect when you come to Europe is huge tide changes. Some of the most extreme tidal changes in the whole world happen here as we look at Adriano just up and down. First priority now with Keanu, and second with Kyle with 16 minutes to go. Sometimes you'll check the waves in the morning and it'll look completely different just a couple hours later. Can you think of any other place where the tides are so extreme, Potts?
No, not at all. I think this is definitely one of those unique places, Joe, where you've got to be prepared for that tide change. The difference between high tide and low tide is about 50 meters of beach gets swamped. Obviously, as we speak right now, out the back this morning was completely top to bottom barrels. Now it's more of a slopier kind of wave, so different boards, different attitude, different setup. I mean, it's the trickiest place in the world, really.
So you can see all the fans there, 12:14. The tide's still going high. It'll peak at an 11-foot high tide. That's a height that you never see in places like California. You don't get extreme tide changes in Hawaii, but here you have to really understand it well, especially if you're competing. Ran into Josh Curley this morning. He said he had an amazing free surf. And I said, you looking forward to getting barreled? He's like, well, my heat's heat number 8. The tide's going to be pretty high, and he's hoping for the best.
And that's the thing, it's hard to warm up for your heat because by the time you paddle out, conditions will be completely different. The bank that you're looking at is not there anymore. And like I said, it's going to probably stop breaking out the back as much, and we're going to see more of an insider sort of section being picked, more of the reform waves with more maneuvers involved. So completely different setup.
So we're looking at Kyle Ubeli, number 2 on the QS. He's wearing the white jersey. Got the call up because we had a lot of surfers withdraw from competition. Taj had his first baby, so he wanted to stay home for that. We also had Freddie P retire at lower trestles. Jordy Smith, Matty Banting still dealing with injuries. So Kyle getting the call up quickly. It's a pretty fun story when you start guessing who's going to be on tour the following season. Kyle's been looking forward to it for a long time. Remember, he achieved World Junior Champ status a while back. He's been fighting for it ever since. As we check out who's in and who's out, Kyle's in for Jordy Smith. Got Aritzer and Brule in for Banting's injury when he hurt himself back at the J-Bay Open in a warm-up session. Alejo Muniz always has the first decision, first wild card replacement, kind of like how Glenn Micro Hall was last season. So you've seen a lot of new faces that could potentially affect the world title race. Dane Reynolds already had a win this morning. We remember what Dane did to Adriano de Souza back at the Fiji Pro. has made things a little bit more interesting in the world title race.
I think Dane's a little different though, Joe. Dane was former number 4 in the world, so he's competed on the big stage. He knows what it's all about. It's not new and foreign to him, whereas with a lot of other guys that are coming through, kind of first timers, it's a whole different ball game. But nevertheless, Thomas Vermeers has shown that he's out there to spoil. Coming up against good friend and one of the top 5 guys in the world, Filipe Toledo. That kind of stuff doesn't ruffle these guys' feathers anymore. Gone are the days of wanting those wild cards. I think it's the other way around now. You don't want them.
That's true. 12:40 to go here in round 1, heat number 5. World number 2, De Souza, with a heavy lead over Kaio and Keanoa Singh. Welcome back to a beautiful afternoon here at the Quicksilver Pro France, stop number 9 of the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. Number 2 in the world, Adriano De Souza with a 15-point total out front, and has Kaio Abelli and Keanoa Singh comboed with 11:10 remaining. Now Kaio Abelli on the back of the ski, kind of alluding to the fact that he just got his second wave during the break. His best wave so far as he's trying to break the combination to put himself in a place to take the lead. This is what happened, Potts.
Yeah, it looks like Kaio opting for a left-hander right now. Jams it under the lip there. Beautiful turn from Kaio. Great talent, this kid. Tucks in for a little cover-up right there and then just loses it. So Kaio drops a 4.67. Great little wave there for him. Nice and low off the bottom for De Souza. Can he come out of this one? Fights his way through. So nice and strong right there for De Souza. He's just going to go into his top 2. Needs to replace a 6.33. De Souza with 2 solid scores back-to-back to kick things off here. Showing some confidence right now, and De Souza means business, that's for sure.
De Souza, we'll wait to see if it's better than a 6.33 as we hit the 10-minute mark. Coming off a big final at Lower Trestles, a result he had never achieved in the past. And now he's looking like he wants to make his first final here at the Quicksilver Pro here in France. He's won in Portugal in the past. He's gotten better at Pipeline. He's made the final there at the QS level. You can see him always improving on different venues, working with Channel Island surfboards this season. See how tight the numbers are. Waiting for Fanning to show us what he's got for this event, but he's won this event 4 times, so he's already going to be setting the benchmark there. We had Owen Wright not get through. He's number 4. He'll be in round 2. Wilson was dominating. He's number 5 in the world. As we want an update on Potts' prediction in the world title race. I mean, we've got Portugal coming up next, and then Pipeline. How do you see it panning out?
Well, I'm just seeing that it's going to be hard to beat Mick Fanning. That's all. He's got that yellow jersey back. He's coming into an event that he's owned pretty much. He's won in Portugal. He's won a world title at Pipe, so he knows how to do that if it's going to be close. Mick's kind of done everything that you need to do to win titles here, and he's got himself in primo position. So to bet against him, you'd have to be pretty crazy, really.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it's the sport of surfing, and crazy things do happen. So here we go, Kaio up and running.
Solid left-hander. He'll slow down. Kaio Abelli, nice positioning, waiting for an exit. And Kaio was so casual pulling into that thing, wanted to burn some speed, and he'll end up going down. He had the 4.67 before. And so that was still a crucial wave. Still combo needing a 16.01 total. Last of De Souza was a 7.33 as he continues to improve.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what the good guys do. You know, they make sure that every time they catch a wave, they're better in their situation. It's basically what you need to do, especially when you know you've got two young guns that don't really have much to lose. So De Souza wants to keep himself in that world title race. You know, you can't win the event in round one, but you sure can lose it by going into that all-important round two where crazy things can happen.
Such a scary sudden death round two. That's the first round in pro surfing where we make eliminations. Let's see what happened to Kaio on this wave.
Kaio draws off the bottom. He's anticipating the barrel, stalls, hits kind of a layback, and then it runs away from him. So an interesting choice of sort of stalling tactics right there from Kaio. I think he needed to grab that rail, get that extra point of contact with the board, give him that extra stability. Kind of doing the old-fashioned layback, Simon Anderson kind of approach right there, and not working out for him.
Love that stylish approach, making it look casual, but he's definitely not going to like the 1.7. Kyle is a man that says he just loves to get barreled, no matter what. He's usually the first one out in the dark on the qualifying series. Usually when you ask him what his favorite thing to do, even after he does a big air, he just wants to stay in the tube as long as possible. That's the dream for him, but the ultimate dream is to qualify. I mean, when he's sitting number 2 in the world, you're ready to congratulate him, but things get so scary come Triple Crown time. Even he's not ready to celebrate yet. Yeah,
well, you come up against all the specialists, all the Haliva guys that guys that spend all year there in Hawaii. That's definite spoilers, And since they changed that whole criteria coming into pipeline, that's what used to happen to a lot of pros. They'd find themselves on the verge of qualifying. They come up against all these guys that are experts at pipeline, and they get the floor wiped with them. So it's an interesting situation going in there. You've got to really make sure that there's no chance at all of being getting knocked out. So just to make sure that you're in for next year.
What an exciting row for Kaio. Remember Wiggly Dantes last season when he was in such a solid spot. Everyone started telling him, hey, congratulations on qualifying. He said, I don't really want to hear that yet. I don't believe you until it's official, because sometimes there's just one event left that could change things around. As we check out the heat recap, heat number 5, led by De Souza, opened with an 8.67 with big turn combos, adjusting to the changing conditions.
Maneuver of the day right there from De Souza, and this was his backup, driving nice and low, fights his way through the end of that one there. So De Souza showing some good form coming in here to the European part of the tour. It's good to get a nice bit of momentum here from France, carry it through into Portugal, because come pipeline time, you want it sewn up, Joe.
Definitely don't want to have to worry about what's going to happen at the final event of the season. De Souza said he got a lot of motivation and inspiration when Gabriel Medina took the world title last season to be the first ever from Brazil to achieve that feat. De Souza admitted he wanted to be the guy to do that first, but it gave him more motivation to really live up to his dream and expectations he's put on himself ever since he qualified for the championship tour. Dominated the qualifying series like most of these guys do, but then went through the learning curve of understanding how to get big scores at the championship tour level. How big is that difference, Potts?
It's huge. Example, you look at Chloe, Chloe's kind of dominates the QS. I mean, it's every event he goes in, he's up there, or thereabouts. He's won a couple already, and, he's finding it harder to win on the CT. I don't know what it is. It's a headspace, but here goes Keanu.
Keanu, backside hack off the lip. Ah Sing digs deep for that backhand carve off the top. Trimming his way through the points as the wave's getting smaller and a little bit more gutless. Keanu just looking for a wave to open up on here with 4:10 to go. He's just taking looks at waves. He's been kicking out. That'll be his best wave so far, but he's definitely been out of rhythm for the solid waves with now 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, it's that classic thing of being able to adapt. You've got to make sure that, a lot of these guys will be sitting watching all morning going, oh my gosh, I'm going to get so barreled when I get out there. And you get out there and you're looking for the barrels, but they're not there. So you've got to adapt.
This is Kaio with a lot of speed. Rock and roll, backhand float, he's down. So another incomplete score. Keanu and Kaio kind of suffering from the same thing here as De Souza is making it look so easy. De Souza throwing away a 6.33, keeping a 7.33 and an 8.67 with now 3:25 remaining. We've seen some comebacks in certain conditions. What we had early this morning, a lot of consistency and big open barrels. It seemed like breaking a combo was maybe a little bit more achievable in the first couple of heats.
Yeah, maybe so. I think it's easier to get big scores in hollow conditions where it's just a barrel. A lot harder to turn those combo situations when you've got to go to turn. So things are looking pretty tough right now for Keanu and Kaio, but they've still got another shot. Round two's just around the corner.
So 2:50 to go. Tomas Hermes won the last heat. He was talking about the challenge of getting the call up late to certain events. We got to see him showcase at Jeffreys Bay. Some events he actually said he couldn't make it to in time. Or Kaio Belli just made a final in Cascais. Got the news that he was going to get the call up and made that smooth transition. You compare that to other sports in the world, and there's not many sports that have that same scenario go down.
I think golf maybe. I know going into the FedEx Cup, the last event on tour, Jim Furyk pulled out and they put an extra guy in, just a rookie, a wildcard kid to just make up the numbers. His points didn't count, but it was great experience for him. So yeah, not many other sports really that these kind of things do happen, where that last minute you get the call up, you might not have the right boards, you've got to go with what you've got, you know, a little bit nervous, and then you come up against the best in the world because you got that low seed. So it's huge, but a great opportunity. And I think where the guys that do well are the guys that just go and enjoy it, because it's not really, no one's really expecting them to do well. And I think if you go in there with that attitude, you're going to do well.
It's kind of comparing that to the opposite. De Souza, knowing this event's coming all year long, knows how to prepare, where he's going to be staying, what kind of things he's going to be working on to see if he can make the podium. You think about wildcard performances at every venue. You don't really have to look too far. When Dane Reynolds made the final back in 2012, he's in this event again, and we'll see if he can accomplish that same result this season.
You know, you heard Ross and Ronnie talk about the fact that, you know, Dane needs a certain kind of motivation. What is it? I don't know. I don't think anyone does. But he's donating all his prize money to a foundation in South Africa to help the kids on the street. Maybe that's the motivation he needs. It's not actually for himself. It's almost like he's got something else to work towards.
Here comes Kaio Belli, a solid hollow left-hander that's running down the line, and it's just going a little bit too quick. You can see that Xanadu pop up out the back, and he'll remain in that combination spot with 40 seconds to go.
Let's hope he doesn't snap that board. It's a little gem, and from what I gather, it's he's finding it hard to get another one. So, you know, he's a kid that's going to be on tour next year. Come on, Xanadu, get him some new ones.
That's right.
Need some backups for that little puppy.
Oh, when you have a magic board, you want to try to save it, but when waves are firing, you want to use it every chance you get. It can be a tough thing when you know you have a perfect board sitting on ice when the waves are firing. When is he allowed to ride it? Only in heats from this point out, Potts?
Yeah, I mean, you know, but don't pull him to close out barrels. I mean, what are you doing? Because that's what snaps your boards. But he's also been caught inside by a big wave as well. From what I gather, that board's been broken. It's been refixed. It's one of those magic carpets that he's trying to hang on to as long as possible.
Well, this heat not going well for Kaio or Keanu, but Kaio getting some early experience in his CT debut. World number 2, Adriano de Souza, dominant. He'll move into round 3. Coming up next, Mick Fanning takes on Michel Perez and Maxime Husseneau here at the Quicksilver Pro. It is still in the early afternoon here in the southwest of France. You're watching the Quicksilver Pro, the 9th stop of the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. This heat features a 3-time world champion, the most successful surfer here at the Quicksilver Pro history, looking for his 5th title this year in 2015. Fanning with the target on his back. Make that target a little bit brighter with that Jeep yellow jersey on his back. He'll take on Michel Berez and Maxime Housseneau. And this beach break is very special for both Michel and Maxime as well, Potts.
That it is. Both these kids have cut this. I've been surfing here a long time, cutting their teeth on these beautiful beach breaks. Talk about the target. I think Mick Fanning welcomes that. And he's one of those guys that make that target as big as you want. It's not going to affect me in any way, shape or form. This guy's been one of the first guys out in the water every morning as usual. Hasn't changed a thing in his approach. Such a clinical, methodical, yet exciting approach that Mick Fanning brings to the sport of surfing. He's a guy that you would bet your house on if you had to.
Most reliable out of the usual suspect story that we've seen in the last decade. Talking about guys like Kelly, Parko, turning in seasons year after year, putting themselves in contention for world titles. Fanning had a shot at a number 4 world title last year, heading into the Pipe Masters. Ended up going down to Alejo Moniz that knocked out his chances in really challenging conditions last season. Regrouped for another year on tour and started breaking some records. Got it to Bells Beach and was able to equal MR and Kelly for 4 bells as we look at the blue jersey of Michel Berez trying to fight his way through an opening tube ride. He'll end up going down.
Yeah, you talk about records. He's also looking at one more, trying to equal Mark Richards. 4 world titles, and at the moment Mark Richards second in that record, in that sort of situation. Kelly Slater with 11. The next one down is MR, so MR welcomes that though. He's not the kind of guy that, you know, will hope Mick doesn't do it. He hope Mick does do it. Such a gentleman now. He never used to be though.
Definitely MR's listening. It was so great to hear all of his great stories back at Lower Trestles as he was commentating during the Heritage Series heat, where we had a lot of your best friends out there, and still absolutely ripping.
Sean Thompson, what a man that guy is. I mean, he's still surfing good. Shane Horan, Michael Host, Simon. I mean, this guy's Rabbit are just amazing competitors, you know. Rabbit, you'll find out in the water pretty much every single morning out there at Snapper. Michael Host still charging in the big waves in Hawaii. Sean Thompson still ripping, kept himself in good shape, and that's what you got to do, you know. And these guys are all legends of the sport and have paved the way. That's why we are where we are right now, because of those guys.
That's right. It wasn't easy. They had to bust down the door and tell people what pro surfing was all about back in the day. And they created a movie all about that. We're so thankful for what we have now here in 2015, a sport that's been moving faster, changing quicker than anything that I've seen in the world. You think about the most crucial changes that have happened in the last couple of years, Potts. What are you the most proud of that's happening on the World Surf League?
I think it's just, you know, obviously way more professional, way more organised. I think the new group, the WSL, have brought us just a whole different sort of professionalism to it. I think the broadcast is leaps and bounds better than it ever was. It's more of a consistent footprint from event to event. You know, people can get used to it, can sort of understand it a little bit better. I think just for the general public, I think it's an easier sport to watch. You know, we're starting to have it, you know, in better waves. We've got those waiting periods that can ensure that. Obviously, Mother Nature has the last roll of the dice, but, you know, I've been involved with professional surfing since 1981, and it's probably the best it's ever been as far as I'm concerned, yeah.
That's great news, great to hear, and good to be one of these guys on the top 34. They're being treated like true athletes. Definitely one of the most challenging sports to keep yourself in the game year after year and to have to build on your strengths to keep yourself relevant. When we look at a wave out the back, this will be the opener for Mick Fanning. That one stays wide open, got barreled to start. He'll kick out. Not an extra long tube ride, but he's on the board.
Nice clean start for Mick Fanning, and we expect nothing less from him. Coming off a win at Trestles, so he's carrying an absolute bucket load of momentum. And that could be dangerous. That could spell danger for his opponents coming into one of his favourite events in the world. Loves the culture, the food, the wine, just the whole thing that France brings to the table. Let's have a look. Straight into the barrel. Look at that. Beautiful stand up. Nice and tall for Mick Fanning. Draws off, looking for that backup tube ride. How's the positioning right there? Just falls straight into it. As you said, Joe, not a long barrel, but nice and clean nonetheless. And a good solid start for Mick Fanning.
When you think about Mick Fanning, I think the first thing everyone thinks about is speed. He was kind of put to be one of the fastest, maybe the fastest surfer in the world on tour or off tour. When you look at his track record here at the Quicksilver Pro France, a 4-time champ, 07, 09, 2010, won in 2013, the most dangerous surfer in the draw. When it comes to these beach breaks, it's hard to outdo any of Kelly's records, and Fanning's been able to do that here in France a few times.
There's not many guys that can do that, can they? But Mick definitely one of those. You know, and you wonder why he's so good out here, and it's just that he's got that complete package, Joe. You know, when the waves are 2 foot, he's got the speed and the power. When it's bigger, he charges, he's good in the barrel. He's kind of got that whole package, which here in France and also in Portugal you really need.
What's interesting when you think about speed, you think about his carve and rail work and his flow. Those are the real things that are highlighted quite a bit. The fans know Fanning has it all. As you can see, a great crowd here in the early afternoon. Remember, it was freezing this morning in the mist, and it was dark, but the surf was firing. Through that mist, Mick was getting a warm-up surf. He had so many barrels. He came in at about 8:15. He was asking, what time are we starting? He found out it was 9:15. He was like, oh no, I could have got at least 4 or 5 more barrels. I came in too early. He was so excited for this matchup.
Yeah, and that's what this place brings, is that it brings the eternal grommet out in a lot of the competitors. You know, it's one of those places that you just, you want to go surfing every day you wake up.
Pulling in on the backhand is Fanning. A tough tube ride to exit out of as it clamps down on him on the takeoff. He did earn a 7.0 for his start. So the right-hander coming in at a 7, an incomplete score for wave number 2, and he still has the lead. Next wave, now setting up for the Tahitian Michel Perez. Locks in, comes hard off the bottom, layback, hammer in the pocket, showing how much power and force that he has. It was just a one maneuver section, but what an epic maneuver to watch.
That's what I want to see from Michel. I mean, that's unrivaled power right there. And he's got to ride those firewire boards because most other boards will not handle that. They'll just blow them into pieces. So Michel Perez comes out with a massive opening turn. You know, although that's not going to really garner a ton of points, it's going to give him that confidence though. There's Michel's numbers.
Checking out Michel Perez representing Tahiti on the top 34, 29 years of age. The cool thing about Michel though, he's from Tahiti, you just think of Chopu, but he was flying over here to Europe during the junior series, surfed waves like this growing up, also had a crazy one down at Super Tubos in Peniche as a junior, charging in huge conditions. So he loves surfing here. Let's look at that turn to get pots.
Yeah. I mean, that in slow-mo. Have a look at this right now. Watch the pressure he puts on the back foot. Just jamming that board into the water right there. Now that's manhandling a 6-foot wave here at France, which is not an easy thing to do, ladies and gentlemen. Don't try this at home.
That is what the Spartan is famous for. The thing is, a one maneuver section, when they're trying to get through heats, numbers translate to a 3.33. A maneuver that we'll remember, and he still needs a lot more to get through this matchup.
That he does. One maneuver is not going to cut it against the likes of Mick Fanning. Maxime still taking his time. Maxime very knowledgeable out here. Great little surfer. He's looking super fit at the moment as well. And he's going to have to bring his A game if he's going to try and take down Mick Fanning and Michel Perez.
If you think about Maxime Husneau and his position on tour, on the QS he's number 12 in the world. They take the top 10 from the qualifying series to qualify for the following season. The thing is, though, we do have some double qualifiers. Guys like Toledo, Jeremy Flores, that might not need their spots and could see Husneau in that position right on the border there. Yeah,
but you know what? The most important thing, as you said before, that you touched on, Joe, is Hawaii. You've got Haleiwa, you've got Sunset, and you're going to find 99% of the top guys in the world are going to surf in those events, get that momentum for pipe. So those events are going to be really tough for the guys that are on the cutoff line right now.
So true. So on one end, qualification. On the other end, a world title. We caught up with Mick Fanning on the press conference to see how it feels to be wearing yellow in the back end of the season.
For sure. I think it's always crucial to get results. I think you sort of, sometimes you can put too much pressure on yourself or not focus enough. But, I think once you come into these back ends, you sort of know what's up for grabs, and it's almost there. But in saying that, there's still so much more surfing to do, and 3 events, anything can happen, and you can go from hero to zero really quick.
You hear Mick Fanning, you could almost hit record and replay a lot of those end of the year speeches he's given over the last 5-6 years. He's been asked that question a lot, but you can see how he's changed as he's grown up on tour. Before, it used to almost kind of seem like it got to him when he was world number 1 too early, where he thought about it a lot before he achieved that first world title. Then it seemed like he got really comfortable. He doesn't mind fielding all those questions. He's won 3 of them now, so he understands the pressure in himself. Last year, he kind of had the come from behind approach when he put his head down and won Portugal. All the big seeds were getting knocked out, and he saw an opening and almost really took advantage of taking the whole thing.
Well, that's where Mick Fanning's dangerous. When everyone else is faltering around him, everyone else is making mistakes, that's when he comes out and really produces some of his best. But, generally you want to be in that slipstream. You want to be, number 2, number 3, but right there, completely in touch. There's not as much pressure. I mean, the media is always all over the number 1 guy, and that brings a lot of unnecessary attention and pressure and the rest of the stuff that goes along with it. But as you said, the more you win, the more you know how to deal with that situation, the better off you are. So
17:22 to go here at heat number 6. Making a move, Maxime Husseneau gliding in down to the bottom, and just a short check out there. He'll get out of there. Had a 1.2 before that. Now Fanning looking to better a 1.0. Stalled for the barrel, didn't give it to him on the first section. Now gets the vision, pops out, and has to kick out of a messy section. That'll get rid of the 1 as he starts to strengthen his lead.
Yeah, Mick just trying to get it back up. You can see him. He's coming in to get that jet ski, reposition himself in the lineup. And that's where Mick's good. He makes these decisions that end up putting him right where he needs to be, and that's just experience, Joe. And with this wave, it's like a red one. The more experience you have, the better it is. Mick Fanning, exactly one of those.
Ton of experience for Fanning. As you see him just about to get on the ski. Remember, started with the 7. Big frontside tube he had earlier. And now he'll get another score for the tube he just kicked out of. Looking for his 5th title here in France. Then he'll be the defending champ coming into Portugal. We'll take another look at this last wave.
Yeah, Mick obviously looking for the barrel. He can see it, waiting for it, and there he goes in, sneaks out the bottom, and then goes down. So it's not going to be a huge score for Mick Fanning. There it is, a 3.6. So he's got his 2-wave total, and now we can watch Mick go to town, go to work on improving that second scoring ride. You can see right there, 3 world titles, trying to equal the great Mark Richards. Can he do it this year, Joe?
It could be the year. Locking in now, Michel Perez. Deep in a closeout. He's down. Last year, Michel Perez was knocked out of this event just due to some positioning issues in the lineup. It was really a tricky lineup to read, and he ended up getting skunked for waves. Crazy rip out the back, and he played victim to it. Last year was just such a different story. Michel Perez put himself in a world title race for the first time with 2 crucial wins, one at Margaret River, and he also had a win in Rio. Now this season, he's starting to really think about requalification as Maxime sets up a solid left-hander, straight up vertical. A huge section, but he'll go down.
Yeah, you're talking about Michel Perez last year. I mean, 2 breakthrough results for him, 2 wins, but there was too many peaks and valleys, and I think what'll happen as these guys mature, Toledo as well, this is one of his years where he's found some wins as well. You find that consistency, and 99% of the time that consistency is probably worth more than a win here and there. So That's what you've got to have. You've got to have a couple of wins as well as some really solid results. Quarterfinals are better. If you've got 9th and 13th in your, in your rankings, then that's not going to really help you at the end of the year.
Michelle got to talk about that experience last season of getting the greatest accomplishment of your career. You're on cloud 9 after his win at Margaret River, then showing up with bells, feeling solid, a lot of momentum, losing to Glen Micro Hall in round 2, just going from one end to the other in about a week's time. That was a pretty tough way to kind of lose that winning feeling.
Well, it bursts your bubble, doesn't it? And it really does put you on the back foot. But, he corrected that up. He won in Brazil and then backed it up with a good, solid result in Fiji, semi-final. So that's kind of what you got to do. You've got to get that good result, back it up with a quarter or a semi, and get that momentum going. Get the judges on side. Get your confidence up, and then you get that momentum, and strange things happen.
Looking at 13:25 to go. We saw Kaiwa Belli in the last heat. We talked about his World Junior Championship title. Maxime Housineau was able to accomplish the same thing a couple of years before him, back when it was just a single event competition like it is now. The year Kaiwa won, there's a few more events in that season. Maxime won at North Narrabeen, smaller conditions, and that was the first time he really became a global name. Yeah,
Maxime, he's a great surfer. I think his surfing is definitely valid on the World Tour. As you said, number 12 on the QS, so he's got a lot of work to do though, Joe.
Definitely does. With 12:45 to go, you'll see Maxime prepare out the back. Now let's hear from Adriano de Souza, who's with Rosie Hodge.
Of heat when you always seem to adjust so well to the changing conditions and then always starting with that strong score. How much does that opening wave just boost your confidence when you open up with that big number?
Yeah, definitely. The first score, I just pushed myself hard, and motivation to the end of the heat. So I knew 8 out there is going to be like at least normal 5, because the waves are pumping, the waves are pretty good. So you can catch the 8 so easily, but the other hand, if you're not finding the good ones, at least you can get 3 out there. So it's not between, and I'm really proud of myself, to make this heat. For me, it's such important, the end of the year right now, and every single heat for me is a crucial point. So, this morning was crazy good, and the tide is moved on, so the waves is not that great, but I still pretty good and good conditions out there.
And then obviously you talk about that crucial point in the year, but you pack your bags for Europe, and it really is a long time on the trot. How do you keep your maintain your focus and also keep a balance in life with your surfing and everything that's going on around you?
When you grab a good result, the last event definitely pushes so much, up. And for sure, it's good energy still around, and it's so good to keep motivation. And I know it's make it at the lead right now, so for me, it's kind of good. I have a target right now, so it just keep moving, and I hope I can still make some heats and make some points to important, to get at the pipe event and have a chance to win the world title.
And then obviously you mentioned that Mick has a target on his back for you. What approach do you take with him? I mean, having 3 world titles and you going for your first.
Yeah, he got such a amazing experience. He's a hero of a lot of kids and myself as well. He won this event 4 times, so he have so many things in his bag already, and definitely he want to keep winning, but it's probably the only thing I do is pray a lot and say that's my year, and then I do for broke. I do my best, and it's the only thing I can do, So it just keep working hard and training and focus, and hopefully this year is gonna be a good event here in France.
All right, well, we look forward to it, and thanks for keeping the world title race so exciting for us. Back up to you, boys.
Thank you, Rosie. Adriano de Souza doing a great job to capitalize on the lead early, closed it out, was never questioned to taking out that last heat, and quick to honor a hero in Mick Fanning, a man he's battling with in his world title this season. You think about Adriano on tour with that top 5 picture when he gets there. Once the heat's over, he's quick to acknowledge all the respect that he has for his competitors. You wouldn't be able to tell the way he approaches his heats because he wants to win. I remember the podium when he beat Kelly in Portugal a couple of years back. He actually bowed down to him on the stage. He said, thanks for everything you've done for the sport, and thanks for that heat. And just wants to take him out even more.
Yeah, well, De Souza's Kelly's kryptonite, really, isn't it? It's Kelly has a hard time with De Souza because why? Because the kid doesn't back down. You know, he's, as you said, he's got the utmost respect for his opponents, but you wouldn't know it when he's out in the water. I mean, he takes it to them and really ruffles their feathers and pushes them, harder than anyone else does. So, and that's a trait that you've got to have. You've got to show that respect, yes, but if you respect someone too much, then you're not going to beat them. You're always going to come out second best. So it's good to have that trait where, you at the end of that battle, you acknowledge that. I mean, we see it a lot in boxing and the MMA where, at the end they hug each other and, show respect to each other. But during that fight, you've got to come out swinging.
A huge role just to try to put yourself in contention for a world title race. Perez looking for some big results and hopefully more sections to lay down the hammer. Plenty of time remaining here at heat number 6. We'll be right back. Welcome back to round 1, heat number 6. You don't see too many people in front of the big scaffolding here because we shifted down the beach first thing in the morning, and we've been seeing some epic rides ever since. Fanning with a 10.6 combined total. That's increasing as we speak. Last we have a 4.67, now an 11.67 total out front. Perez now needs an 8.34 for the win, and Husino still comboed. But with 6.45, we've seen things turn around quicker than that in the past. Joe Chappelle alongside 89 world champ Martin Potter. Nice, beautiful day. Yesterday had all sorts of rain and wind. It was a quick call for Kieran to call it off. And now we're absolutely scoring. This time of the year, is this traditional for France?
Yeah, pretty traditional. I mean, it's you just got to look back in the history of the Quik Pro here in France, and it's we pretty much score. I mean, there's not many events that you've got to go back and see that we didn't get any waves.
Here's Maxime Husino trying to force this one. Goes down on the forehand tube attempt. His best wave so far, still just the 1.2. We saw small scores for Kaio and Keanu in the last heat. Now the same's going for Michelle and Maxime with now an amazing wide open pit for Mick Fanning. He'll just glance at the closeout section and step off. That thing went so wide. One of the biggest caverns of the morning, and Fanning will get rid of that 4.67.
That's why he's the best out here, Joe. I mean, you just saw it right there. Started off solid with a 7. He's kind of been on the hunt ever since, and this is what he does. Drives off a big one there, beautiful. Drives through that section, clean as you want, and then straightens off. So Mick Fanning, one of those rare gems with that higher tide. That was a difficult wave to ride. Mick Fanning, perfect positioning. Great timing right there. It's going to be a huge score.
You can see how Fanning's just been looking for that moment. His last couple of waves in the 3-4 point range haven't given him too much to work with. You can see him, he was urgently calling for the ski because he knew there was a lot left in this heat. All of a sudden turns around and packs one of the best barrels of the day.
Yeah, well, that's what you got to do. That jet ski's there for a reason. Ride your wave, come in, get on the back of the ski, get it to reposition you back out into the lineup. Pick a different section of the bank. Roll the dice, have a bit of confidence in the fact that it's going to happen for you. And right there, Mick Fanning did exactly that and dropped an absolute bomb, one of the highest scoring waves of the day, Joe.
A 9.73 for the 3-time world champ, the 4-time Quicksilver Pro champ. Fanning Now putting Perez and Maxime in a heavy combination situation with 4:30 to go. Seems like there's one surfer that dials it out in this lineup to start off the day. Fading the takeoff, and setting up this one is Husino. He'll have to get out of there. Still counting one Rangers. That last score for Fanning. Couple judges went 9-8, 9-7-3 on the average. Worthy of that big score, Potts.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we've seen kind of a trend going, Julian, pretty much same, where there was one guy that just got those one or two good ones. All the close heats we've had, they've been relatively low scoring, and that's just when that you have those lulls coming through, those slow heats where there's not a lot of good waves coming through, and then you'll have those one or two heats where there'll just be some bombs, and this is an absolute cave right there. Mick Fanning comes out nice and clean and bails out on the inside. 9.73. Thank you very much.
Incredible day for the three-time world champ. Got barreled all morning for a warm-up, getting barreled in his heat, and looking like he'll easily be skipping around into round 3. Got that yellow jersey off of De Souza with the win at Lowers. And remember, early after his win at Bells, he was actually equal first with Felipe Toledo heading into Margaret River. Certain events where Fanning's expected to do well, and he's always reliable places like Bells, at J Bay. There's a couple little pop-up events that, like Margaret River, where he mentions how he wants to get better at, but with the surfing that he does, you know he'll work on that even for next season and be even more dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Mick's just perfecting his trade. You know, he's constantly working out his equipment with Darren Hanley, you know, working out boards. So obviously every sort of a location, you need a specialised kind of board, and Mick's just working all that stuff out. It's getting better and better, and, you know, look for Mick Fanning to be in many more world title races, that's for sure.
Right now, Michel Perez with first priority, trying to break the combo here. He'll take this wave. Beautiful glassy right-hander. He has to step on the gas. A challenging section to start, and he's down. So a tough heat for the Spartan from Tahiti. Also Maxime Husino remaining comboed as we hit now the 2-minute warning as we check out the heat recap for round 1, heat number 6. Fanning always the guy to beat. World number 1 gliding into a 7.0 to open things up.
Yeah, Mick just goes from strength to strength in this heat. I mean, there was a little bit of downtime where he posted some small scores, but started off nicely. Beautiful, clean barrel. Looking for that backup section, but pulled through the back. Good move. Michel Perez, definitely the turn of the morning right here. Look at that. Just jamming that board into the face of the wave, showing the power, but nothing to back it up. So just a small score there for Michel. And then Mick dropped this. Just a disappearing act inside a huge barrel here. Comes out nice and clean. That's what we want to see from Mick Fanning. 9.73. Finds himself in a very solid spot, Joe. 16.73. Two-wave total. Perez, Husino combo.
Love that positioning from Fanning on the 9.73. Made it look so easy. Came out with a ton of speed. Just got to enjoy the closeout going down. During the heat recap, we did see Maxime Husino pull into the barrel.
Beautiful wave there from Maxime. You can see, I mean, the kid's got amazing talent right there. Very sort of sea bass-ish with that rail grab roundhouse cutty there. Surfs incredibly well. Just wave selection. There hasn't been a lot of good waves come through. It's been 2 to be exact, and Mick's been on both of them. So when that kind of stuff's happening, it's really hard. He's got to regather, regroup, come back in round number 2. Kids have got amazing talent. He's just got to rely on that instinct and that local knowledge that he's got here in the southwest of France.
That's right. Husino is such a dangerous competitor. He said after he won his World Junior title, he went on tour on the QS and had to really learn the ropes a lot. He said he was getting beaten before the heat started by a lot of competitors, just that experience that were controlling the heats. He came in the next season on the QS and decided to get the first wave, as we see Michel Perez with some speed to burn. He'll fly out of the tube. Casual down carve. Fits in a final snap on the inside corner. Since he was comboed, it's just a little bit too late. It'll get a barrel on his way in.
That's good though. I mean, Maxime dropped to 6.7. Michel's going to drop something very similar. You know, at least they finished the heat with something. You know, they didn't get skunked. Obviously, they're both going to end the heat in a combo situation, but a little bit of confidence there to finish off.
That's right. Fanning looking dangerous out in this lineup that he's won 4 times in his career. Coming up next is heat number 7. We'll bring in Ronnie Blakey and Ross Williams for the call right after this.
Round 1 action unfolding. Mick Fanning getting a win in heat number 6 over Maxime Husseneau and Michel Perez, and the current Jeep ratings leader. Looking very comfortable out here. This is his pet event. He's had 4 wins in the past and would love to repeat the effort once again here and push further ahead on the ratings. But here's another competitor that's trying to track him down. Gabriel Medina had a real return to form in the back half of the season. He's up against Matt Wilkinson and Dusty Payne. A couple of competitors very hungry for big results to shore up a spot on the championship tour in 2016. Ronnie Blakey joined by former CT surfer Ross Williams. This is a great heat on paper, Ross, one of the best of the round.
Yeah, this is looking really cool. Good matchup here. Gabriel Medina, obviously a pretty big favorite here. He's won this event, world champion from last year. But Matty Wilco, he's exciting. He's really fun to watch. And then Dusty Payne, a surfer that everyone is just waiting to break through, even maybe grab a CT victory. He's got that much talent. So 3 different types of horses here, but for sure Gabby is the favorite.
Pretty interesting round so far when you start looking at the title talk. Mick Fanning, Adriano de Souza, very comfortable in their first round efforts. Felipe Toledo, Owen Wright, not so much, but a good showing from Julian Wilson also.
Yeah, Julian, wow, he smashed his heat too, but Mick, that was impressive. And it was really cool how busy Mick stayed in between the middle part of that heat. He was hounding the sandbar, looking everywhere, and then finally he broke through and found that one gem of a barrel. So that just shows you, you have to be, adventurous. You have to keep looking around when this tide comes up like this. I never know. Sometimes the waves aren't as obvious.
Well, we saw on camera at the end of that heat, Mick Fanning was sitting pretty close to Matt Wilkinson in the lineup. Seemed to be pointing out some markers on the beach to Wilco. We'll see if that works in Wilco's favour at all, as we have a lost board, broken leash.
I thought I saw a blue jersey there, so that could be Wilco. We'll try and confirm that, see what happened there. You see the board right there. Possibly broke a leash. It's pretty rare for these surfers not to wear a leash, so he may have snapped his leg rope. And when we pan back, we'll see well, there's a Volcom sticker on that board, signifying that could be Dusty Payne's surfboard.
Well, there's still plenty of time for these competitors. Let's have a look at what happened here.
See Dusty right there paddling back out, this wave on his forehead, Ronnie. So is that what happened? He might have got pinned by that wave right there and snapped his leash.
These guys are a long way out. He's swimming. Now trying to get to that piece of equipment. We'll need to get to shore, get a new leash on, and get back out there. 26 and a half minutes to go. No major scores locked in just yet. No waves ridden, in fact.
And these surfers hate wearing thick leg ropes. They like to stick with the comp leashes just because it feels great. While you're surfing, you don't feel anything. It's really light. So it's tough to wear those thicker leashes. So that could be what happened for Dusty. He might have been using a really thin leash and it snapped. The waves are strong right now. It's powerful. It's solid. Double overhead on the sets and thick.
Dusty's getting straight back out there as we see some movement in the lineup, or some waves rolling on through, but the ski driver able to negotiate his way through the breaking waves. We see Mick Fanning making his way in after a really strong first round performance.
Yeah, Mick just having a cruise in, and that tide has come up a lot, Ronnie, a few feet in the last hour and a half, and it's changed quite a bit, and that's that flexibility we've been touching on throughout this event. You have to be resilient, and you also have to keep your eyes open, because it changes. It can change within your heat, and you have to notice it.
Ross, you've been a part of title race years, and you've also obviously watched on as a spectator in recent times. Just looking at the number of competitors at the top end who are still mathematically in with a shot, have you got a projected cutoff point where you think sort of guys are out of contention?
Yeah, it's getting there, isn't it? So at the back end of the year, these surfers are allowed to throw away 2 of their worst results, as we see Wilco getting annihilated on that closeout section. So, that's going to make it a little bit misleading, but certainly the top 6 or 7 would have to be your cutoff. Gabriel Medina sitting at 7th. He's got 30,000 points. He would have to pretty much run the tables along with Kelly Slater. So really, we're narrowing the field down to Julian, Owen, Felipe, and Adriano and Mick. So that top 5 to me, that's kind of the guys that are really in contention.
There's the Jeep leaderboard for you now. You heard Ross mention that there will be an adjustment at the end of the year when these surfers start dropping their worst 2 results. At this stage of the game, you drop their worst 2 results, it still looks the same, the top 10. Mick Fanning still out in front by pretty much the same margin too, so not too much changes at this stage. As we see Medina now having a look at his first ride, grabs that rail, stalling for the tube, finds some cover, he's still running, and he'll find the exit. Up onto the lip, a brave floater effort, but doesn't make it.
That was impressive. You saw him drag his body in the wall as he airdropped. Really maximized the depth there. He was pretty deep in that barrel, and then stepped on the gas when he needed to. Right there, he dragged his body in, even got a little airborne and got really deep. He went up and over the foam ball, and then as soon as he realized he was nice and deep, he stepped on the gas there. So great tempo for Gabriel to max out that barrel.
Earlier on in the day, we were talking about those surfers who, you think about their strengths, and I think Medina is another one of those surfers who you think about above the lip, you think about how strong his rail game has gotten in recent times. You forget how good a tube rider he is at times, and he's proven that with big finishes. Obviously, the Pipe Masters last season, and also a victory in Tahiti. He is so strong when it comes to locking himself into a deep barrel. And here's Matt Wilkinson, one of his better efforts so far in this heat. Just glides through a clean carve. Bit of foam to deal with on the face, doesn't make it easy. But the Australian bringing this one right through to the inside, looking for a strong finish. Nice floating re-entry to finish that one off.
Yeah, Gabriel Medina, I agree with you. He is sneaky good in the barrel. He's not the craziest guy. There's guys like John, Owen, Kelly Slater who are, they're pretty crazy in terms of getting the biggest barrels. But here we go, live action.
Here he is again, Medina stalling. Just trying to get behind the curtain for as long as possible. And that wave just started to really get a little ugly towards the end, had a few lumps and bumps. Medina got knocked off.
He was close, wasn't he? That backwash has been making trouble all day long. Again, it's a really shallow bank, so it actually creates a backwash, a little tiny swell that heads back out against the grain, and it makes that wave kind of open and close and shut and slap. Makes it tricky to kind of time the exit of the barrel. You'll see the wave clamp. But I agree with you. Gabriel Medina, he's sneaky good. He reminds me sort of a Mark Occhilupo, great tube rider, but in competition, he likes to grab those medium-sized waves. He's not going to be the guys like John and Kelly and a handful of the other guys that are just kind of crazy. Owen Wright is the other guy that I think of. That they're going to go for the craziest wave of the heat. So Gabriel, a very smart tube rider, especially in competition. And watch this backwash hit the wave right about here, and it's going to flop it open and then shut. There's where the backwash hit. So you can see that barrel. It was really nice and round, and all of a sudden, when that backwash hit, there's nowhere to go. And trust me, these waves are powerful. So as soon as that lip hits you, touches your shoulder even, you're body surfing within seconds.
Waiting for the scores to drop from this last exchange. Wilkinson with a pretty decent effort. You look at Gabriel Medina's track record here in France, and I think it's the reason that even though he's back in 7th position, no one's really writing him off just yet. He's had a victory in 2 of the 3 last contests, runner-up finish at Pipeline. He could go on a magic kind of run, really, and I mentioned those results here in France. He won in 2011 as a rookie, quarterfinal 2012, runner-up here in 2013, and a quarterfinal again last season. So always making the final series.
Yeah, him and Kelly sitting in 6th and 7th. You just can't count them out just yet. They're extremely capable of winning the last 3 events. They're going to kind of have to do something like that if they're going to catch McFanning, let alone Adriano de Souza and Julian and Felipe. But that's how good they are. They've been there before. They could do it. Odds are that's pretty stacked against them. But Gabriel Medina, it's nice to see him save some face because he was a little sloppy at the first 4, 5, 6 events. So, he's put together some solid results.
Yeah, he had a bit of a shocker early on. He's already counting on a couple of 13ths in his scoreline because dropping a 13th and a 25th already, he really can't afford any early round exits if he wants to be there at the end of the year or even have a finish inside the top 5.
And I think if you're Gabriel Medina in your headspace, you're thinking it'd be cool to grab a win, get in the top 5. I'm happy with that. I don't think he's thinking this is my year to win the title. But I love that he kicked it into gear to save some face and to, show everyone, hey, watch out. I'm going to be here for many, many years. There's that wild re-entry from Wilco in that closeout section. And a couple of waves real quick for Wilco. He found that left-hander. It's funny how the goofy footers have really been sticking to those left-handers. They're on sort of a different part of that sandbar. But every regular footer has a regular foot-itis, and every goofy footer has a goofy foot-itis. They just love the look on their forehand.
Medina did pick up an 8-point ride, though, early on a right. Great backhand tube riding and almost did a good job of backing it up, but just missed the exit on as sides he set.
It was impressive barrel from Gabriel Medina. I like the way he wrangled that thing. It's not easy on your backhand.
Waves aside, Ross, your favourite thing about visiting this area of the world each year?
Oh, fromage, vin, the wine and cheese. Hard to get past that, isn't it, Ronnie? The food, everyone mentions food right away. When you ask them about Europe, they're like, oh, the waves are great. The food is amazing. Coffee, it's just hard to get by. And then the culture, it's such a rich history here. The cathedrals, churches, all the buildings, it's amazing. It feels so different from America, certainly where I'm from and in Hawaii. And so it's just nice to be, somewhere where you can really soak in the French vibe.
17 and a half minutes to go. Scores in from those opening rides. For Medina, it was an 8 on his first wave. He had a 1.93 on his second. Matt Wilkinson had a 5.33. Dusty Payne yet to put a decent number on the board. So Medina out in front. Wilkinson chasing a 4.61. And Dusty Payne looking for an 8.93. It's so bizarre that Dusty Payne wasn't able to carry that momentum he had at the back end of the season last year onto the CT. I thought the switch had been flicked and he was going to go loony. He surfed so well during the Triple Crown, almost won the title, the Triple Crown title, but he just hasn't been able to convert that form into results on the CT.
Yeah, I'm with you. And remember, he won his first heat on the Gold Coast. He tore that heat apart. That was easily his best heat so far this year. So everyone including ourselves, was like, cool, wow, Dusty's here. Maybe he'll be a top 5 contender. It certainly looked that way, and he really hasn't showed up since. He just had shocker after shocker. I know his seed has been low all year, so he's been drawing really tough competition, but usually someone can break through, and he's got that much talent where everyone just keeps waiting for him to get that moment.
He is sitting way outside the requalification mark. He needs to get into the top 22. He's in 34th position. And he hasn't been past the 3rd round this year, which just blows my mind, because there's certainly some surfers above him that you'd have to say have less talent, but maybe just have figured out the formula for collecting results on the CT.
Yeah, we talked about it throughout this, especially France. France really kind of smokes out people who are headstrong and have a good competitive game. And, Dusty, that's been his weak point. He, based on talent alone, he is a top 5 surfer.
Well, let's see what he can do here. Here he is grabbing the wall of the wave, maximising his time behind the curtain, has a great line through this pit. How far did he get through this barrel? That thing just reeled off once it hit the sandbar on the inside. We'll see a replay of that wave in just a moment, but right now let's get caught up with the Jeep ratings leader, Mick Fanning, with Rosie Hodge.
That's right, the yellow jersey is looking good on Mick Fanning. And Mick, you were one of the guys this morning absolutely chomping at the bit, looking at the conditions. You're always one of the first guys to be free surfing. Just tell us, the conditions in the water at the moment and what it's like surfing a heat out there.
Yeah, it's fun. It's it can be heaven or hell out there, really. If you get the waves, then it's great, and there's some amazing waves out there. But then you can easily get lost so quick. If you're 10 feet that way or 10 feet the other way, and you could just totally be out of sync. And you got to be, you got to pick your spots, and hopefully they come. And there's a little bit of luck on the side today.
And with 4 Quicksilver Pro Frances under your belt, which win here stands out to you the most? What moment do you really take away from this and draw on that when you're out in the water competing?
They're all really different. I think probably the one, I think it was 2010, and it was somewhere around here out the back. It was pretty massive, sort of similar conditions to this, and the whole 2 days leading up to the final day was just incredible. It's just like, I didn't really care about results or anything. It was just more about just getting barreled with one other person out, which you never saw anyway. So it was that was probably the funnest, yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see how this event unfolds, and with the World Round, we can't wait to see that. So back to you, Ronnie.
Thank you, Rosie. Yeah, 2010, it was a special one for Mick. He'd always struggled the year after he'd won a world title and hadn't actually won an event as world champion. Then in 2010, after snatching the title from Joel Parkinson at Pipeline, he came here to France, big conditions, got the win over Kelly Slater in the final. And I can see why that one stands out for him. 2013 was also a crucial one for him, because it really helped him go on to get the job done over Kelly at the end of the year. But here's a replay of Dusty's last wave. He was flying through that pit.
Wow, what a vision there for Dusty Payne. He was locked into that. That was always going to be a long shot. That barrel really stretched across the entire sandbar, so it didn't give him that nice little soft exit he needed to escape. Would have been maybe 10 points for sure had that thing open up, but it closed out on that sandbar. So, that was a fun barrel for Dusty. The vision probably was unbelievable for him, but it's going to be low.
But Dusty Payne's just got to be wondering when his luck's going to turn and one of these waves is going to hold open for him. We were talking just moments ago about Gabriel Medina's results in this contest. Amazing. Never missed the final series. Matt Wilkinson, on the other hand, has only made it past the second round once. That was last season. He had a 9th. And Dusty Payne has actually never had better than 25th in this contest. So really, both those surfers in danger of falling off the championship tour really need to turn around their luck here in the southwest of France if they're going to be any chance of remaining on the championship tour next season. Well, right now, while there's a bit of a break in the action in the lineup, let's check in with Pete Mellor, Strider Wasilewski on the set.
Right on, Ronnie. And we're going to take you through the last three heats, 4, 5, and 6. And luckily, the conditions have been holding true. We've got still the offshore breeze blowing. Yeah. The tide has come up, Strider.
And it looks super fun. I mean, we've been watching waves all day. Guys are getting shacked. We've seen some really highest heat scores. So There's one heat in particular that didn't go so well, but that was it. Pretty much the whole thing has been gangbusters.
And that's the heat right here. Heat number 4, Tomas Hermes, Adam Melling, and Felipe Toledo.
You know, interestingly enough, right here, Toledo looked like he was going to have a good go, but your man Hermes just took the win right here. Just hacks it away. Look at that. Blasting, a lot of speed, low center of gravity, a lot of skill. Hard to ride these waves out here. A lot of warble on the inside. So good work for him, and I'm stoked to see him take the win right there.
Well, he had the 6.5 on that last wave and then backed it up with the 5.07. Adam Melling had the 6.20, only a 4.7 for his backup. Again, low scoring, probably the lowest of this round. 11.57 had the win for Tomas Hermes. Heat number 5, Adriano de Souza, world number 2, Caio Avelli coming in off of an amazing run over there at Cascais, and Keanu Singh.
You know what? Adriano just took the win. This guy hacking away, a lot of drama, making it look good, and you know what? He got it done. He was the guy he needed to make it through this heat, skip the round, get on to round 3, just like Fanning did, just like all these guys want to do who are in the run. Well, guess what? Owen didn't do it. And you know what? Toledo did, and it was interesting to watch these guys go at it, but it wasn't enough for Caio after that good run. He was surfing really well, really fast, but you know, right there, look at that little warble, just knocked him off, and D'Souza sure-footed made it through.
8.67, 7.33 for a total of 16 points. Adriano moves on through, and then you got heat number 7, Mick Fanning, Michel Perez, and Maxime Husseneau.
Skills to pay the bills. Mick Fanning just coming through, getting the barrels, knowing where to sit, finding their zones, absolutely having a blast. There's a 3.33 for a super hack out of Michel Perez, but Mick Fanning right behind his backup score, just crushing it. I mean, this guy on every good wave needs to get, he's got the Jeep Leaders jersey on for a reason.
9.73, 7.0 for a total of 16.73. I will correct myself. That was heat number 6. Heat number 7 is in the water. And Mick Fanning, Adriano de Souza have moved into round 3. That kid is looking like he is as solid as can be. And we got another great heat in the water. Gabriel Medina taking it down right now.
Thank you, Pete, and looking super sharp, might I add.
Very dapper.
Yes, love the scarf. Very French. 9.5 minutes remaining in the heat in the water. Heat 7, and Medina is out in front. He has an 8 and a 3.17 at this stage of the game. Matt Wilkinson in second spot needs a 5.85, and Dusty Payne, who hasn't been past the second round here in the Quicksilver Pro, he is in third spot, chasing a 7.85 to move into the lead.
It offsets the fanny pack from our friend Pete Mel, but yeah, great update there. And I think, you know, a couple of non-surprises and then a couple of sneaky results there. Thomas Hermes comes to mind. Pretty clever backhand surfing there to grab that 5er.
Yeah, definitely. That was a really scrappy heat, a bit slow for set waves, and in the end, great composure from Thomas to get the win over Felipe and Adam Melling. The other big result as far as the wild cards go is Dane Reynolds getting a win in the first round, and a really strong showing from him, absolutely blitzing his rivals in his first round effort.
Some great replacements and wild cards too. We saw just a couple of highlights from Maxime Husseneau too. He laid down on a couple of really nice snaps, so he's going to be a tough draw.
He's in a great position, Maxime, too, to potentially qualify for the CT ranks. He's just outside the top 10 and earns his spot in the contest as the highest placed European surfer on the QS, not in the event. So great to see. Alejo Munez, he gets another shot at a CT event here in France. He's another surfer that's been on a mad run on the QS.
You know what it is for him? Ever since he grew that beard, he's just gone straight manhood turns.
I'm pretty sure he's born with a beard, actually.
Came out like a lumberjack with a flannel.
Big time. Just over 7.5 minutes to go. And other than Medina's 8-point ride, it's been a bit of a quiet one. Let's see if these guys can tap into a couple more set waves in these final stages. We're going to go to a quick break. 7.5 minutes remaining. Wilkinson and Dusty Payne with work to do. Medina out in front. The waves are firing for our first day of competition here at the Quik Pro France Top 9 on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. Out in the water, last year's world champion Gabriel Medina leads this heat with an 8-point ride and a 3.17 at this stage of the game. Holding on to the number 1 position ahead of Matt Wilkinson and Dusty Payne. Medina making his way back to the takeoff zone now. Ski assist employed today with some tricky conditions on the outer bank. And while we're at the break, this wave was ridden Ross.
Gabriel Medina searching for a backup score. Big old alley-oop right there. Wow, planted it. That's that extra gear that Gabriel Medina makes him so dangerous. This guy is not afraid to boost to the moon, so pretty solid. Just the one move for the wave. Quick little head dip. Bing, though. Kind of clicks the tail around towards the beach. Nice little reverse. Not the the craziest one we've ever seen, but would have been nice for him to pull off that layback snap. It really would have spread that wave a little more even, made it easier for the judges to throw a big score.
We've been talking about just Medina's repertoire and just how much he's grown and just how powerful his turns are. There would have been a time in the past where Medina would have stopped the alley-oop and then looked for a big air reverse on the inside. But he just has so many moves he can go for now that can surprise you.
Yeah.
And the big layback snap there, I like that as an option, but unsuccessful. It'll be a decent backup of 5.17 drops for Medina for that wave. But he'll want to improve that.
You can see he's prowling. He's on the hunt. He knows he's got the only big score of the heat, so he's trying to apply that pressure, especially with the time frame. If there's only 4.5 minutes, he's going to really have Matt and Dusty against the ropes if he can manage another 6 or 7. As it is with that 5.1, he's got them in a pretty tough situation.
Just over 4 minutes remaining. So easy to forget that Gabriel Medina is only 21 years of age. Has there been anyone like him in recent times that has that balance of competitive savvy and talent?
I think Julian Wilson pops into my head straight away. Just a little bit older than Gabriel, but he's got a lot of parallels with his surfing.
Well, here we go. This is Medina just sneaking out of the barrel, taking a low road out of that pit. That might throw away the 5.17.
Yeah. So we'll see. He was down the beach. We had the angle from behind. I think see if we can get another look at that. He looked pretty happy with it, though. He had a nice, dramatic, sort of a side door exit there, out of the doggy door, we like to call it. So there wasn't a traditional opening of the barrel where guys just kind of get spit out. Sometimes if the wave closes out, you can sneak sideways towards the beach. Right here you can see, wow, that was cool. It kind of broke through the lip line there, so I'm thinking that's going to be better than his 5.
3 minutes remaining. Waiting on scores to come through for Medina, the 2014 WSL champion. Love thinking back to that moment on the beach at Pipeline when Mick Fanning fell out of the title race and Medina was world champion. He returned to the beach, to the crowd during a heat and just lapped up all the attention and even did an interview.
That was wild. Yeah, he won the world title, literally was on a beach, it felt like for an hour. And, what was it? 20 minutes later said, hey, by the way, your heat's still in the water. Felipe Toledo's out there waiting for you. And so he rushed back out and actually won the heat.
Well, here we go. This is Matt Wilkinson. He grabs rail and finds some cover and just falls as that wave opened up and wanted to let him out. And Wilkinson couldn't hang on. Yeah,
you saw him kind of body surfing there. He's almost on his way out and just got a little too much board stuck in the whitewash ball. So it's tough out there. All these barrels are kind of almondy. They're not hitting not all of them are hitting the soundbar just right, and they're tricky when it hits the backwash.
Just under 2 minutes to go. And Matt Wilkinson in second spot was looking for a 7.85. And that requirement will grow as Medina has just put a 6.33 on the board. Wilkinson now chasing a 9-point ride. And Dusty Payne, well, he's just about out of this one, chasing a 2-wave total of 14.34. A minute and a half to go.
And that's been Dusty's MO. You could argue that he's just overly patient. He really likes to drop anchor, and he can be stubborn at times and just wait for that one wave that he thinks is going to come in. You can see, look how many waves Gabriel he's caught. He's caught 2 or almost 3 times as many.
And here goes Medina once again, driving off the bottom, just attacking the lip, gets the fins free, but just can't land that ride over the falls. 1 minute to go.
Yeah, that's Gabriel's 8th wave, and Dusty just sitting on a pair of waves. So, you know, out here right now, it's tough to find those good waves. You have to explore a little bit. So that's the learning curve. Matt just kind of lost at sea as well. He's only managed to grab that one 5.3.
35 seconds to go. And Medina looking very comfortable out here at the moment. One of his favourite stops on the schedule. A former winner in this event. And really looking to put the foot right to the floor in these last 3 contests. And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a miraculous back-to-back title hunt.
He's so good in these punchy type of beach breaks. It really matches his surfing in between doing big punts, big airs, and that smart tube riding. He knows how to get the job done.
He sure does. Well, there is so much more to come in the first round, but this heat is over. Medina moving on through to round 3. Up next, local boy Jeremy Flores with last year's winner John Florence and Alejo Munez.
Come here.
Welcome back. You are watching the Quicksilver Pro Stop 9 on the Samsung Galaxy Championship Tour. Local favourite Jeremy Flores is hitting the lineup against last year's event champion John Florence and Alejo Munez, who is an injury replacement in this contest. Should be a great heat. Looking forward to seeing if Jeremy can perform under the hometown pressure because he has actually never progressed past the 3rd round in this contest despite some pretty amazing performances.
Yeah, maybe it really is something to do with it, because if you think of Jeremy Flores, his type of surfing and the beach breaks here in South France, that's a really good recipe. I love the way he surfs in punchy beach breaks. He reads barrels really well. He's not afraid to knife late little drops. And then also, you know, he's high performance surfing in beach breaks is up to par. So it's pretty surprising. Maybe he can get over the hump in this event.
Well, this is, I think, Dusty Payne making his way in from that last heat. But just Jeremy, an amazing return to the top end of the ratings from him. And here he is, just driving into a big set wave. This is going to close out. But it looked impressive.
That was fun. He
Love
got
it.
smashed, but that had to have looked insane. Sitting in that barrel, standing tall. He knew there was no exit. He didn't care.
Well, you'll remember that Jeremy Flores took out the event in Tahiti, the Billabong Pro there, wearing a helmet. That was due to an injury suffered free surfing in Indonesia, but he's since shaken the helmet. Obviously feeling pretty comfortable once again. And just like Tahiti, not holding back at all. Just tucking into a monster pit in the opening stages of Heat 8 here.
He's a bulldog. Jeremy Flores charges so much so he's won the AI award in Tahiti during the Billabong Pro there. You can see him right here. Big pump. Watch as he stands tall. So got a ton of speed right there. He's definitely giving it a lot of effort. Maybe there would have been a little side door action right there. He relinquishes. He says, I don't care. I know the door is shut. I'm just going to go ahead and pull straight into this closeout. But Jeremy is a bulldog. He charges. He's even been invited to the Eddie Aikau. He's that caliber of a big wave surfer, and he backs it up with a lot of skill. So what's pretty cool about Jeremy is if he wants to, you never know. He could have a really long career, sort of like a Shane Dorian. If he has that option, that's how good he is in big waves.
Well, just a 2.33, sorry, for that first wave from Jeremy. There'll be plenty of great photos from that ride, despite the fact he didn't find an exit. And that's one of my favourite memories of Jeremy early on here in the Quicksilver Pro. He surfed in the event as a wild card back in 2006, just a grommet, and they had pretty big waves at La Gravière down the beach. He came up against Mick Fanning in the second round. He beat Mick in big barreling waves, and he was, as I mentioned, just a kid at that point. And there were some big pits, bigger than that one that he just pulled into. Wow. So certainly has had some moments in this contest, despite the fact never getting past the third round.
Spends a lot of time over his years growing up in Reunion Island, New Caledonia, so he's not he's accustomed to that, big power, a powerful ocean. It doesn't surprise him. He's comfortable, and so it's being groomed in those types of waves. It helps so much having that kind of balanced career.
25 minutes, 40 seconds remaining. And again, a bit of a slow start. Really looking forward to seeing what John Florence brings to the table in this heat. Surfed so well in this contest last year. We were touching on Jeremy Flores and just his return to form in 2015. He went missing last season. But fired up on the QS and then has just been ripping throughout the year on the CT.
Yeah, he really, he went through a foggy kind of ordeal in his career and then bounced back brilliantly. Competitively speaking, I think he kind of found the magic on the QS, and it really bled into the CT, which is where everyone wants to shine. And for Jeremy Flores, the crescendo after he suffered a horrific injury free surfing in Indonesia, got a CT victory again here in Tahiti. So he's won the Pipeline Masters and Tahiti. That's a couple of great events to have in your cap.
He looks pretty happy about it too.
That was awesome.
Yeah, amazing that he's taken out those two events. I think you ask any surfer on the championship tour, at the end of a long career, what are the contests that you want to have the trophies on your mantle? And I'm sure they're probably two that are right at the top of the list.
For sure. I think Tahiti, Pipe, you'd think Bells. Bells is cool. It's just it has a long, rich history. Yeah, those events right there, they're at the very top of the list. And then maybe the specialty event, you would think the Eddie Aikau, that's really special for a lot of people. The Triple Crown comes to mind for a lot of people.
But then every event on the CT is so crucial when you talk about tracking down world titles. And I think just the fact that these events are so hard to win, it really is dominated. The victories are dominated by a pretty small group of guys. So, Jeremy Flores, such a long career in his 9th year on the championship tour and just 2 victories in that time. As we see John Florence tucking in, a nice barrel from him on the open face now, and one of the biggest turns that we've seen all day. Can he hang on? He does. How sweet was that? He got so critical, almost inverted at the start of that turn. He just held that rail for a long, long time.
Well, it's, he proves everyone right out there that just falls in love with the way John surfs in big hollow waves. His wits, his vision for where he takes off before he's even done any surfing is perfect. He knows how to place himself right behind the button, and right there, just perfectly behind. See how deep he was? So a lot of effort and work was done before he even stood up on his feet. He made sure he was right in a magic spot, way behind the peak to backdoor the section. That way he could really maximize how deep he could get in the barrel and actually pump through it to get that extra speed he needed to make the wave super exciting. It's going to be so easy, Ronnie, for the judges to throw him a big number.
Is this turn complete though, Ross?
Well, first of all, I love that carve. He gave a lot of effort to try and finish it off, but no, it's not. He didn't. He have to clearly ride in front of the whitewash. The judges have made that super clear. They don't want to give any gray area. That way, there's room for arguing. You basically have to. There has to be a cut dry. I'm in front of the whitewash. I made it.
He'd done the majority of the work, but something happened just as he was riding out of that turn. Whether his back foot slipped a little bit or his fins just released. He just lost control for a moment, as Jeremy Flores did on the takeoff there. 22 minutes remaining. John is about to put the best score of this heat so far on the board, waiting for that number to drop.
Well, the good news, despite him not completing that hack, that beautiful layback carve, he did enough with that barrel to get a big score.
Just such a magic run John had in the back half of the season in 2014. He was like Medina, kind of hanging around the midpoint on the ratings as the judges take another look at that wave, just making sure.
His back foot slipped off right when he was about 90% done with that hack, and that was the culprit. It just allowed him to get kind of unstable. He couldn't keep that balance. Then he got caught behind in the whitewash.
That's how he just suspends himself at the takeoff point like that before pulling into those barrels. Like most people want to get into that wave, take the drop out of the equation early and get a nice line into the pit. He actually wants to suspend himself in the lip for as long as possible.
Yeah, he's extremely comfortable in heavy situations, and being groomed on a North Shore of Hawaii, he's used to those heavy waves, pipeline, backdoor. So taking off on a late steep wave is no big deal to him, and it allows him to get almost cocky and get behind it under the lip. He actually performs and kind of manipulates the wave. He toys with it.
Well, plenty happening out there in the lineup, but also a lot happening here on the beach, and Pete Mel has last year's world champion Gabriel Medina.
Yeah, Gabriel, if we can get you back here real quick, but I was here lucky enough to see you when you're 16 years old, win your King of the Groms. I also was able to watch you win here your first maiden victory on the championship tour, finish runner-up here. I mean, is this something that you come to France and know that you're going to feel good and surf good here?
Yeah, France is special to me. I had a lot of good results in the past, and I had some good memories from here. And now I started good, making this first round. Feels good, and I like this wave. And as I said, I started my successful in here, so it's a place that I feel good.
And I got to ask you, I watched you do that alley-oop, and when I watch you spin in the air, you seem to have this awareness that is different than anybody else. I mean, it almost feels like you ride switchfoot really well, and I have seen you ride switchfoot. Is that something that you consciously work on?
Yeah, sometimes I surf for fun, just to practice and have fun, and but I skate switchfoot. I'm regular, yeah, and but sometimes I try to go regular.
Well, it's fun to watch, I'll tell you what, and I keep doing it because it's exciting, and also your barrel riding is solid as well. But take a note, regular foot skateboarder. So that part where we saw about the switchfoot, that's what he's got in that little bag of tricks of his.
Well, that is super interesting. Medina skates regular footed, and I'm sure it helps him too with some of that fakey riding that he does when he's out there on his surfboard. But at the moment, just under 19 minutes to go, and John Florence holding onto the lead. Had a great wave, an 8.67, an incomplete turn after coming out of a huge barrel, but it didn't matter, Ross. He'd already done enough exciting stuff in the pit.
Yeah, I think the judges appreciated that John navigated perfectly. He got really steep and under the hood to get, he really maxed out that barrel and rode up and over the foam ball. He had to actually get a lot of speed just to make it out.
Well, here we go. This is Alejo Munez in the white. He gets barreled, pulls in, still going. He finds the exit and likes it. Wasn't a super throaty barrel, but certainly got some cover.
And we were looking into it too, so I'd love to see the replay from the front on view. I think he got pretty deep as he just gets pinned by the wave behind him.
That was one of those scenarios where he didn't know whether to paddle for the beach or...
I was wondering why he was paddling in. See if he makes a choice of paddling back out. They do have the option of going in, Ronnie, and grabbing the ski. Looks like he's making that choice.
Bringing this one through to the inside. Waiting on numbers to drop for the Brazilian. We're just on 17.5 minutes to go. expecting a decent score here for this ride.
Well, so this is slightly more from the front on view, so you can see how deep he got. That was kind of questionable whether he was going to even make it out. So pretty throaty pit there. The tide's getting higher, so Alejo's going to be psyched that he found such a deep hollow wave as he gets absolutely annihilated. So a little bit of tax to pay there for getting a nice barrel ride.
He just snuck out in time, didn't he? That wave was really starting to clamp. So that'll be the interesting part, I think, of this score, because sometimes if the wave is kind of tapering off, as opposed to, say, John John's, which was wide and open on the exit, it can really factor into the score.
Yeah, it's a good point, Ronnie. I think the dream scenario for surfers is getting spit out of a big barrel. That just, it's like fireworks at the end of a barrel. If you can get a big spit, it makes it really easy for the judges to drop a perfect score. As a judges replay, you can see them taking a look. They're comparing Alejo's last wave with John John's. So, they always set the scale for each heat individually. Every heat is a different story. Alejo's, though, that was a solid wave. I want to say it was even better than John John's.
Well, this is live action now. John Florence, he finds a long one, reels through to the inside, and this time he makes sure he finishes off the turn. But the judges saw the exchange on the previous ride going the way of Alejo Munez, and I think from that second camera angle, you just got to see that extra size in Alejo's ride from the takeoff.
Oh, yeah, look at that, 9.10. So, again, I agree with the judges. I thought it was a little better than John John's, and he got almost a half a point better. So, but unbelievable there. John, right when the mojo was getting stolen from him with that nice barrel from Alejo, he stole the limelight right back. Pretty impressive, too. He's wearing trunks, just a top. So John, I think, trying to stay active out there. Doesn't want a lot of wetsuit on. Stalling right there. You saw him drag his arms, getting really deep. And now, wow, that wave really sped up. And so he is maxing out these tubes. He's not out there just going for a leisure little walk in the park. He's really trying to get as deep as possible. I love that layback hammer.
Well, it just makes you think back to his first ride, too. And if he was able to ride it out of that big carve that he did after the tube, he probably would have gone well into the nines. But you know what? He's about to drop a big score here, a 9.93 for his last wave.
Wow.
And there was a few judges that loved it. Threw it a 10-point ride. Big numbers for John Florence. And looking forward to seeing that wave again on the replay. We spoke about Dane Reynolds early on, and just his approach is just raw and just gives it everything when he gets to the lip or lays down a big track. And after coming out of the tube, he just put it all on the back foot and really dig in.
That's pretty cool. 3 judges saying, I don't know if there's anything better you can do out there today, and giving him 10 points. Amazing. And again, we use this term a lot. The scale has been set. So once they drop that 9.10 for Alejo, it's a really good barrel. They did distinguish that John John's barrel was that much better. So now we're seeing that, the ceiling, it's getting cramped in there. They're really trapped in that 9-point range. This is a good thing, Ronnie. Maybe the waves are, have switched. They've turned back on.
Well, here we go. Here's the replay again. John Florence.
The wind expected to really drop off, but it's still clean and offshore. And so, again, I loved how John stalled and got as deep as he could. And then that wave actually got kind of fast when he was in the barrel still, and he stepped on the gas. This turn right here was icing on a cake. Nice little layback snap right here under the lip line. Got a little shampoo right there in the face, but rode out of it clean with a lot of speed. For a minute there, that looked like it was going to be kind of awkward, but he kept the speed up.
A lot of the times on the broadcast at the moment, we're getting the angle looking into the barrel. The judges, they're sitting directly in front of the bank.
Right.
They're looking at these waves front on. They can gauge perfectly how deep these riders are in the barrel. And also, I think they get a bit more of a critical perspective on those end section turns. And the front on angle of John John's end section move then, it looked even better than what we saw initially looking into the wave.
No doubt. This is the angle you want to see. From the front on view, it's maximum reality. You get to see how big the wave is. You get to see how steep it is. You get to see how deep the surfer is in the barrel. If you're looking inside the barrel, it really dilutes how dramatic that barrel is. It kind of looks, you're not quite sure if the guy's in the pocket or if he's really deep. So nothing better than that front on view, and that's where the judges are. They're, you know, again, this is our backup site. We're a good 3, maybe even 500 yards down from the main scaffolding.
It's not that angle like Chopu say, where you look into the barrel from the channel. You're in perfectly in line with the tube, so you see how round and open it is. It sort of takes a bit of the roundness out of the barrels looking at it from the beach angle. But a solid crowd building on day one of competition.
Yeah, sun's out, a lot of people down here. So there again, as you see that camera pan back, that's the main site. That's where we're sitting right now. So this backup spot is pretty far down the beach, but Kieran Perro and Alain Rioux, our contest director and commissioner, made the call this morning. They saw a lot of A-frames down there and made the call to move it.
And really what they were looking for from the best bank was something that was going to stand up in all tides. And they found a pretty good little piece of sand out the back there, which has been consistently providing excellent scores throughout the day.
It's the toughest job possible to make a call for everyone. Say, you're going to surf out here, boys, because as soon as you make that call, Murphy's Law, you're going to look 100 yards to your left and someone's going to be getting a 10-point ride. And, you know, there's just perfect A-frames up and down the beach. But again, they have to look at, you know, a 10-hour window and all the tides and how much it'll change. I wish them luck for the rest of the week. It's tough. It's a tough call.
Just over 11 minutes remaining. John Florence leads with an 8.67 and a 9.93. We'll see if Alejo Munez and Jeremy Flores can fight back right after this. Welcome back. 10 minutes remaining in heat number 8 of round 1. John Florence has 2 scores in the excellent range, one near perfect, a 9.93. Also hanging on to an 8.67 at this stage. Alejo Munez needs a 9.51 to jump into the lead. Don't write him off because he has already posted a 9.1. Jeremy Flores, he's in trouble. He needs 2 waves and a total of 18.61. As we see a rider up and just running and gunning. It was Alejo Munez. Unable to find an opening to get himself out of that tube.
And that's one thing that makes John Florence so dangerous. You know, I can't wait to see him put up a solid campaign for 12 months with no injuries, because he is such a smart surfer. Not only is he an amazing, exciting surfer with what he does on the wave, airs, barrel riding, but he's really tuned into the ocean. I mean, it's tough to find the best waves out there, and he's done it.
Last year when the event finished,
he might be hurt.
Oh, he's got his hand up. He's making his way in at the moment. I was going to say, last year when the event finished, there were solid conditions like this, Ross. You got out there. Just give everyone a bit of an idea. We're always talking at places like Tahiti and Cloudbreak, water surfer experiences underwater during a wipeout. What are you going through out here on these sandbars?
It's got a lot of punch. It's super violent and turbulent under the water out here. Because it's a soundbar, it's very shallow. And so these waves are big. When a swell comes in like this, they're big, they're hollow, and you know, you can get hurt pretty easy. It breaks boards like toothpicks. And speaking of that, Alejo Munez pulled into that last barrel, and you never know what happened. He may have connected with his board. He is kind of laboring.
Well, this is the gnarly bit too. These shore breaks are a lot bigger than what they look, and he's got to negotiate that injured. So we'll see how he fares. He's going to beach this one. But
So
that was a quick decision, wasn't it?
Yeah, sorry, Ronnie. A lot of times when you pull into a closeout, you can either hit your board. You saw it. water safety there, rushing to Alejo's aid. They're trying to get him, again, you mentioned it, that shore break is very awkward. It's got a ton of power. And he seems to be...
Oh, he's clutching his knee.
So he could have gotten contorted. We'll definitely fill you in when we find out exactly what happened. But again, when you pull into those closeouts, you're at the mercy of the wave. You can connect with your board. You can get contorted. So it's, pulling into those closeouts, we've seen Jeremy do it at the beginning of this heat. It's fun, but it's also super dangerous.
Well, they will get him up to triage and check him out.
That's too bad. He's
in a lot of pain. Well, the most frustrating thing, hopefully it's not too major an injury, because the most frustrating thing from Alejo is he's had injuries in the past. Actually, injury was partly to blame for him dropping off the championship tour last season. He missed a couple of events, fought back bravely in the end, and got himself right through to the quarterfinals of the last contest, but it wasn't enough. But yeah, that was
he's going
hard
well
to watch.
On the QS too. So
he's back. He'll be back on the championship tour in 2016. He looks like he's in a lot of pain at this stage, and you've got to feel for him, because he had a 9.1 in that heat, and even though he needed a big score of 9.51, there was still plenty of time on the clock.
That's right. He had a 9.1. He had an amazing barrel. So Alejo Moniz was not comboed. So he was pushing it. He was literally looking for those big barrels. That's why he pulled into that deep closeout. He thought maybe I could find an exit.
And just so awkward on the inside there, trying to get to the beach. There's no way around it. You're going to have to negotiate that shore break at some point, injured or not. It's a challenge. This is actually tamer than what you experience down at La Gravière when it's huge. You basically have 8-foot waves breaking on the sand.
That high tide is right around 3 p.m. It's almost 2 o'clock right now. So that beach break, as you try and get onto the shore, onto safe dry land, it is really awkward. It's tricky, and it just pushes you around. You have to kind of just roll up with a head full of sand. Sometimes you can have a mouthful of sand. It's a pretty wild beach break.
We'll keep you updated on Alejo Moniz and his condition, but at the moment in the lineup, Jeremy Flores is comboed. He needs a two-wave total of 18.61. He's going to need a good set wave pretty soon if he's going to turn this heat, because John Florence has 2 excellent scores.
Something to take note of too, Ronnie. I mean, look at the size of this swell right now. It's been boosted this afternoon as predicted from Surfline, a pulse from the northwest, and you can see it has not backed down at all. There's a ton of size out there. It's maybe double overhead, and it just seems to be pouring in right now. So the sort of in the last hour, maybe even 2 hours, I want to say it's even gotten a little bit bigger.
John Florence missed 2 contests this year. He missed Fiji and Jeffreys Bay. And obviously it's going to be hard for him to have the kind of finish that he did in 2014, but it was an amazing run in the back half of the year. From Tahiti on last year, he didn't miss the final series of an event. He had a victory here in France, finished the year with a quarterfinal. There's actually a great article with John Florence on worldsurfleague.com. Sort of asking John the big questions. What's he going to be? I think we all want to see him really challenge for the title. He's got to avoid injury if he's going to do that.
Yeah, he's such a grom when he surfs. He can't help himself, and it's hard to blame him. He's capable of some of the best moves possible on a surfboard, and that's how he's gotten injured over the last few years. He does those big airs. He has tough landings, and he's suffered some big ones, but he's put on a clinic this afternoon, I should say, in France. John sitting on an 8.67, and he bettered it with a 9.93. You saw that last pit right there from Alejo Moniz. He grabbed himself a 9.10. But John, he managed a couple of solid scores, almost a 10-point ride right there, Ronnie. You could say that's probably the ride so far of the event, 9.93. And unfortunately, Alejo Moniz right there in that barrel, he got really deep and got injured. So hopefully he is okay. And as we speak right now, he has some medical attention.
Getting treated up here at the main contest site now. So as I mentioned before, we'll get you an update on Alejo's condition in a moment. 2.5 minutes remaining, and this heat looks like it's pretty much a wrap. John Florence well out in front. Jeremy Flores just hasn't had that rhythm. He started off early with a big closed-out barrel. Just hasn't even been able to better that score. It was a 2.33. He's only got one other ride, a 0.5, so a pretty slow heat for Flores in front of the hometown crowd.
And looking at the conditions right now, this is definitely Johnville. These waves here, he could potentially just max out his kind of surfing performance in these kind of waves. It's made for him. But that being said, Alejo, obviously he posted that 9.1. He can post great scores in these waves, and as well as Jeremy Flores. He is not afraid to pull in the big deep barrels. So this he always looked like it was going to be a cracker, but John ran away with it.
He's examining him now, so
it's good to see, isn't it, John Florence? I thought he was going to come out at Trestles and just freak everyone out, but he got beaten by Glenn Hall over there.
Yeah, that was a huge upset there for Micro, and John showed some rust with the jersey back on. He kind of had a weird heat, was a little too patient, fell on one or two waves. So sometimes if you sit out for a few events, you can get rusty, even at this level.
Well, just over 1 minute remaining. John Florence looking good to defend his win here in the Quicksilver Pro last year. An 8.67 and a 9.93, one of the healthiest heat score totals all day.
That's what I love about the tour right now, Ronnie, is how many amazing spoilers we have in the ratings. You look at John, Joel Parkinson, there's so many guys just waiting to rain on people's parade that are going for the world title. Mick Fanning, Julian, Felipe, Adriano, they're all there looking to get the win, but these guys are going to rain on their parade.
And the interesting thing is they're those title contenders from previous years that don't have the pressure of requalification,
right,
and they're just sitting comfortably in that position, and they can really throw everything at it. You think about the title front runners and the pressure that they're under, the focus that's on them from the media, and obviously that extra attention that comes with it.
There's a good balance there, isn't there? And we talk
awesome.
about Jeremy Flores winning Tahiti. This smells like that kind of event as well, where the top guys, who knows who's going to come up and just steal the win here.
Well, just 10 seconds remaining now. John Florence is going to take the win. He's moving on through to round 3. And Jeremy Flores, he'll have to bounce back in round 2. We'll get an update soon on Alejo Munez, who left the lineup injured with about 7 minutes to go. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more action with rookie sensation Italo Ferreira hitting the lineup along with Adrian Buchan and Ricardo Christie. We'll bring in Joe Tappel and Martin Potter for the call.
Hello.